Today on the Daily Wrap, Independence Day is this Saturday, but do Americans know why we celebrate? The answer may surprise you. As Bernie Sanders continues to rise in the polls, another candidate enters the Democratic race for the White House. And now that same-sex marriage is legal in all 50 states, are American conservatives following suit? We'll tell you about all that, plus we have a very special panelist today. Stick around to find out whom. This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City. And welcome to the Daily Wrap.
We thought visual.
Absolutely, wasn't it?
Where the heck was the music behind it, you know?
We're actually going to have our special panelists maybe perform live.
Actually, we should have had them sing it as they were doing
As it was going on, yeah.
Okay. What happened there?
Well, we'll see. Anyway, Unger, you're looking well tonight. I like the purple tie. Big plans for the weekend?
Yeah, rest. Lots of rest. First time since I can remember I've had 3 whole days off.
3 whole days off in a row for you.
It's going to be wonderful.
Okay.
Hanging with the grandkids.
Outstanding. Good stuff. Anyway, we have a very special guest tonight, as promised. That is the singer of a hit song, Lee Greenwood. We meant to play it for you. But Mr. Greenwood, can you do a quick verse for us?
Come on, do a verse now.
Just like my song. I'm proud to be an American, well, at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you. And then the cymbal crash. And defend her still today. Because there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Oh, that's tremendous. Well done.
Now I'm glad that it malfunctioned. That was
cooler
than the record.
Absolutely. Good stuff. And he's the editor of the WisdomDaily.com, and you're not. Brad Hirschfield joins us. Good to see you.
Good to be back.
Don't sing for us. Okay?
I won't.
All right, thank you.
You don't want that.
So welcome, everyone. Well, anyway, as you could hear, he is proud to be an American. We're proud to have him in our Newsmax studios this evening as we head into Independence Day weekend. And Mr. Greenwood has a new book out that's #1 in Amazon's children's books right now. That's cool stuff and quite lucrative, I would imagine. Proud to be an American. There you see it. Definitely go on Amazon. Go to your local bookstore if they're still available. Apparently selling quite well. So congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm excited about it.
Good stuff. We'll talk about it in a moment.
We were actually planning the animated version last night. Perfect book for an animated TV special.
Yeah, we were planning that. We were over a drink.
He's Mr. Hollywood.
Over a lot of drinks.
When he gets overserved, trust me, that's the time to negotiate.
Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah.
So Lee, tell us about your book and why you decided to write it.
Well, I'm excited about this only because I think when we were young parents, Kim and I have been married 23 years, and our boys are now 20 and 17. Dalton's at Washington Lee University, and he was valedictorian of his high school, so well educated. But we started when they were a year old, and I opened my own theater in East Tennessee, a 2,000-seat place. And it was a ritual every night. You give them a bath. You know, hold a child on your lap, and you smell their hair because you had them in the shampoo. You're like, you know, it's really good, and you feel a heartbeat, and then you put a book in front of them. And I'm not talking digital because digital you can't do it. It has to be a hardback book, and you give them lessons about life, you know, animals and numbers and insects and geography. But I can't remember ever teaching them about patriotism. Now, occasionally you see a flag on something. So we decided to release the lyrics of my song with a childlike pictorial and give them lessons of patriotism from the very beginning when they're first very young.
That's outstanding. Cool.
It has been very well taken. We did the BEA show in New York. We did the CBA show in Orlando. And I'd say 80% of the people who come up to my booth, I would sign a book for them, give it to them, were teachers. And they said, we want this in our library to teach our kindergarten students.
Wow. That must be the highest compliment, when you, not to be #1 at the top of the charts, but that teachers and parents are actually embracing this book.
Yeah, it's a really great compliment.
So how do you run into a bar with Rick Unger? I mean, how do we go from there to there exactly?
It was convenient.
Yeah.
Well, I was with David Webb, so
that's right.
This
is all thanks to the idea was hatched by our good friend David Webb, who said, "Hey, Lee, you should go on Rick's show tomorrow night." And
absolutely,
here he is.
All right, very good. I think this is the first time somebody's worn or actually had the kind of fashion that you have. In other words, not to be in a boring suit like we are.
Yeah,
so
that's not boring. I liked it.
If the boss is watching, I'd look great in that, man. Come on, let me wear that.
I wish I would look great in it.
Good stuff. Well, as Americans get ready to watch fireworks, go to backyard barbecues, I'm hosting one on Sunday. Do they know why we celebrate Independence Day? Author and activist Mark Dice tried to find out.
The Declaration of Independence was signed by who?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Not
What year was that Declaration of
Was it
Independence?
1964? 84?
1984.
84? I don't know.
No. We're in trouble.
1864?
1860.
I don't know.
This country, no wonder this country's in trouble. Okay. What country did we declare our independence from?
Help me, baby.
Nope, just you. You're on your own.
I know, I have no idea.
You're going to be celebrating, though?
Yes.
But you don't know what you're celebrating.
You're right, you're right.
Okay. That's tonight's homework assignment.
Okay. Thank you.
Back in the late 1700s, when Jesse Ventura and John Wilkes Booth and the other founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence, what year was that exactly?
Sometime in the 1700s, I'm not sure.
How many stars on this flag?
50 something?
What are we celebrating on the 4th of July exactly?
Independence Day?
Specifically,
I don't know. I'm so bad at this. Say
You don't know?
Independence Day. Say when we won our independence.
from
Those countries. You have this on camera too?
name one of the founding fathers of America.
I don't want to do this.
You don't know? Getting people's thoughts on what country we broke away from when we declared independence back in 1776.
Didn't know.
America celebrates the 4th of July.
Is it Independence Day when you got rid of Mother England, right?
Yes. We got foreigners that know why we. So, you know,
Well,
the foreigners know why we celebrate it more than Americans.
We are so doomed. I mean, we really are. The one guy had a shirt on that said Narcotics Anonymous.
So maybe he had an excuse?
Yeah, that's pretty much the only one. But Lee, when you see video like that, is it amazing that probably the 6- and 7-year-olds that are reading your book probably know more than the adults that we just saw in
I
the
would
video?
say most people are not smarter than a 5th grader. It's really interesting that you ask those kind of questions and they don't know the very simple basics of history and the beginning of our country. It just astounds me.
The answer is England, by the way, right? I think I get that right?
Very
Yes.
good.
Got that right.
Very good.
Yes. Okay.
It's, you know, you never know when you watch these whether to laugh or be genuinely upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, but you know what? It's not funny.
No, and
It's
Mark
not
isn't the only one who
funny.
does that. We see it on plenty of Abandoned Streets. You've done them
Yeah,
as well.
I've done them. It's disturbing.
And it's not
really
selective
is.
editing, is it, Rick?
No.
A lot of it is you don't have to go very far to find folks.
I know in the pieces that I do, I'm usually looking to find people who get it right, so I can include some of them, so it doesn't look like we rigged it. And it's just
Yeah, look,
stunning.
what we don't know is a lot. That I think is a little bit over the top, but I think what you're doing is actually the solution. Bemoaning it won't help.
Yeah.
What I love about your book, and as we've known for a long time, parents are the best teachers kids have.
Well, absolutely.
Our kids
Absolutely.
know what we're really all about.
Good.
We don't always like it, but they know.
Up to the 6th grade.
Right.
Right.
And if kids actually hear a book like that read to them by their mom, by their dad, they know what patriotism's all about. So.
Well, speaking of patriotism or lack thereof, a new poll finds 35% of Americans say they're open to leaving the USA, and 14% said they would consider that move in about 5 years or less. A total of 65% of Americans say that given the right reasons, they would consider a move. And what are the right reasons? 36% cite better quality of life, okay. 33% cited a lower cost of living, and 31% cited the appeal of new experiences. Are polls like this something for 2016 candidates to worry about when they make their pitch to voters?
I think it's not a problem in the least. As you know, I spent 7 years outside of the country. It was a great experience. Happy to come back. But, you know, it's as we said last night, there were times in our history where people emigrated from south to north, east to west. It's okay. It's okay. They're not going to like it any better, but it's okay.
Or anywhere
Rick,
else.
That's
Yeah.
the last word on that. I'd go to Australia, but probably stay here. Anyway, back with more in a moment.
Thank my lucky stars to be living here today. 'Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget.
And welcome back to Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concha, joined by my co-host, Rick Unger. And filling out the panel tonight, we have country music star Lee Greenwood and temple music star Brad Hershfield. Anyway.
You might want to explain that.
Yeah,
Just saying.
We will during the commercial. The Socialist Center, Bernie Sanders, is surging. He's gaining ground on Hillary Clinton in Iowa. Check out this new Quinnipiac University poll. Former secretary still has a 19-point lead, but Senator Sanders has more than doubled his support among Democrats in Iowa. We saw before the show he was playing actually an arena there, 10,000 people. Right? He's like New Direction, but different. Anyway, Eddie Zippier wrote an op-ed for The Hill that he says he still believes it's all empty hype for Sanders. He says there's no surge and no chance of overtaking Mrs. Clinton. Dr. Paul Rutledge at the University of West Georgia, wherever that may be, attributed it to the media trying to sensationalize an otherwise dreadfully boring Democratic primary. In other words, all media hype. But if you look at the crowds, as we just mentioned, he seems to be resonating, Brad Hershfield.
He is resonating. Now, I don't think the country's going to get a socialist president. I don't think we have to worry about that. But I think ignoring why he's resonating is a mistake. The same way I think ignoring why Donald Trump is resonating is a mistake. I think people are tired of the same old, same old. Now, what we're going to need to see is, can anyone emerge who will not be the same old politics and actually be credible and be somewhere reasonably centrist enough to actually lead the country?
Lee, I have no idea where you lean in politically.
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, why don't you inform me on that at least?
I'm a conservative Christian.
You're a conservative Christian. Okay, so Bernie Sanders
That's the best
probably
way I
not
could put
getting
it.
your vote.
Probably not.
And Hillary Clinton not really considering it.
I don't think so.
Who's your horse? Do you got one yet?
Well, you know, I work with the Bush family. I like Jeb Bush an awful lot, and I don't think there's anything to stop a Clinton-Bush election. And I wonder why other countries laugh at us. And here we are, over and over and over again. And you're exactly right. I think people are tired of the same old thing.
It's amazing. And you go back to 1980. 1980.
You know that Lee was such a profound political analyst. You said
why
what
he's
I
on the
said.
show.
Oh, that's right.
No
That's
way
where I heard it.
It's not, there's no way it's not a Bush-Clinton race.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with you.
And I also would agree with you that, as everybody here has heard me say, that do not rule out Governor Bush, because he is a serious contender in that race, especially the way things are going. Look, what this writer said about Bernie Sanders, he was partially right. There is no way that Bernie Sanders can overtake Hillary Clinton, but it's not empty hype. That's wrong. When you can fill a stadium, I mean, granted, it's Madison, Wisconsin, which is the home of college liberalism, but you know what? 10,000 people, folks, or 10,000 people. That's some serious stuff. So don't write him off. He's delivering a serious message and he's being heard, but no, he won't be the candidate.
Maybe some younger folks don't mind the whole socialism thing.
Well, maybe they don't, but it won't be enough to get him.
It won't get him over the top, but I think he's filling crowds in ways, because Hillary really is the same old, agree with her or disagree, in ways that I think Jeb Bush is not. In other words, the name may be the same, but he is less the same old relative to his family than Hillary is relative to hers.
Well, there's also positioning for the next election. I mean, you know.
Yeah, there is, but it won't be Bernie Sanders then either. But look, I mean, people like him because he's probably the most honest man in Washington, D.C.
He's a decent guy. He's not this guy. He's just wrong.
He's very consistent.
Not like that?
Yeah.
That's for sure. And let's check out, while we just saw some of the crowds that were at Sanders' campaign events. They're just incredible. Let's take a look at one tweet. AP reports 10,000. That's what I was referring to before. Pack Coliseum, that was in Madison. Of course, as Rick said, that's where the University of Wisconsin is. That's the largest event yet for any 2016 candidate. That's certainly very interesting. Do you think this just shows how, now granted, Hillary can be a bad candidate, and I argue that she's a bad candidate, and I think not a lot of people would disagree in terms of the way this campaign's been run so far. All we do is talk about email servers and this denial,
questions.
Right, and her never doing like any major interviews with anybody. It looks
suspicious.
It looks suspicious, exactly. But at the same time, I mean, does this just show how weak Hillary is, and does Joe Biden jump in? I know we're going to talk about it a little later.
I mean, look, I think that's a big question mark right now. I understand why he's being a little reluctant. Obviously, his personal life's been difficult, but he's a realist. I know Joe Biden. He's a smart politician. I know people like to make fun of him. He understands that it may be too late to overtake Hillary, and I don't think he's going to go through it for nothing.
It's
a lot of it
days to the
depends.
election.
even still, you know, the
From a
money
money
raising
perspective?
and everything else, a lot of it's going to depend on if Hillary further self-destructs.
Doesn't Bernie Sanders show that money means nothing? That with social media, you don't have to do the advertising.
he's not gonna
I
win.
wouldn't say money
No, I
means
understand,
nothing.
but
I agree.
no,
I
not nothing. But I think it
Although
means
Bernie
less than it
Sanders
used
might
to.
argue that money means nothing because he's a socialist.
It means Brad. It means less than it used to.
100%. You're absolutely
Social
right
media
about
gets
that.
your word out when advertising.
I
can.
think you're absolutely right, and I think we should never underestimate Hillary's ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of
Boy, ain't
victory.
that the
Agreed.
truth.
Anyway, but Mr. Sanders still is bringing in some money. He raked in an impressive $15 million in the first 2 months of his campaign. And remember, he's not taking any major contributions, right? So there you go. That's pretty impressive. But Hillary Clinton's super PACs have raised $24 million so far this year, and her campaign has raised an overall $45 million. So getting back to Sanders one more time, I guess, does the money, will that eventually overcome him, or just the fact that socialist ends
He's
it?
not going to get close. But you know what? I have to point out that photo we saw of the rally at the University
Yeah.
of Wisconsin. That looked like the front 2 rows of a Lee Greenwood concert.
That's
That's
true.
about all that was. So.
But is all elections now just about the money?
Largely,
I'd say less.
Yeah. Well, it's less than people want to say. But look, we're not in the heavy ad media spending time.
Right.
Once we
Exactly.
get to that, it's all about the money.
Then it's all about
I mean, you
money.
can
I
both
agree
be
with
right.
you.
It's largely about the money, but it's less about the money than it has been in previous elections.
But
It
he's
will be
right
for those
too. When it
reasons.
gets
I
down
think
to the last 6 months,
it's
look
largely
out.
about
Lee,
that.
but
Then
don't,
it's about the money.
don't you find yourself rooting for Bernie in a certain sense, where we see one poll where he actually overtakes her just to see the
Well,
Hillary Clan just go into
well,
a complete
yeah.
panic?
Well,
we can't beat him.
It's an easy yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
But he's right. I don't think Bernie will.
Also on the 2016 campaign trail, former Virginia Senator Jim Webb became the 5th Democrat, by the way, to enter the race. Quickly, what are his chances?
Not
Quickly.
great, but I think he's interesting.
Okay, Rick. Lee.
He's a great man. I'll give him an 8.
Okay, very good. Back with more in just a moment. And welcome back to The Wrap. Well, it's probably a safe bet that Donald Trump isn't losing much sleep after Serta Mattresses cut ties with him over the comments about Mexican immigrants. Dun-dun-dun. Serta joins Macy's, NBC, Univision, maybe the state of New York, in dumping the billionaire presidential hopeful. It appears that Donald has lost millions of dollars since announcing. Do you think that he's second-guessing his decision to run, Lee?
No, absolutely not.
He's loving it, isn't it?
Yeah, he's stirring it up, and he's after the truth. I got to give him that. He wants the truth, and maybe the way he said it's a little rough, but he's after the truth, and that's why those people are scared of him.
I guess when you're worth, we'll call it conservatively $4 billion, then losing these
with all
not a big
respect,
deal.
with all respect to our new buddy here, Donald Trump wouldn't know the truth if it been on the haircut. You know, Donald Trump is after publicity, and you know what?
Well, that's
he's got it this week. We got to give him that. He's owned the news cycle.
Let me
this week.
challenge you on that. Or not challenge you, but I'm curious to see where you come down on this. Is he doing this for publicity because now he's been in the spotlight like he's never been before, and he's been in the spotlight a lot, or does he really want to be president of the
I
United States?
think he really wants to be president of the United States. His problem is that he didn't understand that promoting yourself to be president isn't quite the same as promoting yourself to get good ratings in a reality TV show. And this is what you've seen this week. What he doesn't care is he is absolutely really doing serious harm to his party.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. They're painting all Republicans with a broad brush. Hillary Clinton says, see, this is what the GOP thinks about Mexican immigrants, when obviously that pertains basically to one man. It's the perils, Brad, I think, of brutal candor. And the fact is that during that speech, when he came out and announced, he didn't have a speech. He was just going off the cuff. So if you go off the cuff, you're genuine. But if you're genuine, sometimes you're going to go into an area where now sponsors are dropping him, and there's a segment of the population that'll never vote for him just based on what he said already.
Correct. He is damaging the Republican brand. He is damaging the conservative brand. It's Ari Fleischer, the former press secretary for the Bush, has said it's like watching a car wreck. Right? Everyone pulls over to look at it, but it's a terrible tragedy. And that's what's going on here. And the fact that and I think he is genuine in that sense, but what I think he's genuine about is promoting Donald. Yeah. Donald's always in the Donald business, and the fact that someone is genuine doesn't guarantee they can't be stupid or offensive, and he's managed to be both. I actually had a moment when I thought maybe cut him a little slack, and then he goes and talks to Don Lemon, and he goes back with, who's doing the raping? He would have to learn how to apologize in order to recover any piece of this.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because despite the backlash, Trump is showing no signs of backing down, as Brad said, that Mexico is sending rapists and drug dealers to the U.S. Roll it.
All I'm doing is telling the truth.
I've read the
read the Washington Post, I read the Fusion, I read the Huffington Post, and that's about women being raped. It's not about criminals coming across the border or entering the country.
Well, somebody's doing the raping, Don. I mean, you know, somebody's doing the. Just saying it's women being raped. Well, who's doing the raping?
Why'd they go off of Don's face? Because I would have loved to have seen the reaction. He's just like,
it's
my God.
unbelievable.
It's almost like watching the Man on the Street interview. You don't know whether to laugh at it or be really upset and cry.
Right, so here I'm going to err on the side of being upset because he is worth billions of dollars. He does want to be president. There are pieces of his candidacy that are attractive to lots of people for good reasons. And then he does this stuff, and it's actually edging toward really hateful.
Yeah, it seems like, Lee, the most attractive part of his candidacy is the fact that he's not a politician. Everybody hates politicians right now. Accurate. Okay, great. If you were running his campaign, what would you do to? How would you advise him if he even took advice? But if you were to advise him, what would you say? Donald, do this.
I think maybe playing his speeches a little better is all. You know, I mean, he's aggressive, and everybody knows that. And he likes media coverage, and you're right. He's after as much media as he can get. If he's going to win presidency or not, it will help his brand. And everybody will know who he is and just like that. But you know, I think the public likes his attitude.
Here's what they like. It's really easy to summarize the Donald Trump situation. The public likes what he says because he's calling out problems that disturb them. Mm-hmm. What they are beginning to see, though, is while they may like that he presents the problems, they're beginning to see he's not even in the same universe for having solutions.
Yeah, I think that's largely true. Look, he would need to stand up and say, part of a conservative approach is personal responsibility. And I'm going to say words I've never said before. I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong to say that.
That's true.
Problems with immigration are real. Illegal immigration is a serious challenge in this country. We have not come up with any real responses to what we need to do better. But I was wrong to utter those words. They were ugly
really
and hateful.
Right. And you know what, just to throw this in quickly, you know what would help him immensely? Instead of suing somebody every time they drop him or saying, I told them to drop me, he should just once say, you know, I feel bad about that because we had a great partnership. I'm sorry it worked out that way.
It's not Donald Trump.
It's not Donald Trump.
And there's more, by the way, with Donald Trump when J.D. Hayworth interviews Mr. Trump on the show coming on right after this one. It's called Newsmax Prime, so certainly stick around for that. The best part about the Trump candidacy will be when he finally leaves, if he leaves, right? And then he has to endorse somebody. And then that person, no, I don't want to. Lee, thanks so much for being here.
You're so welcome.
We appreciate it. I mean,
Thank
well
you.
timed
Thank you,
with
guys.
Independence Day coming up.
Yeah, Independence Day. Happy Independence Day
Happy
to all of
Independence
you.
Day.
You and your
Happy
family.
4th of July. Thank you. Thank you. My family's going to be in East Tennessee.
East Tennessee. Ooh, it's beautiful. Oh, the mountains there, right?
Yeah, my wife visiting her brother. We got 3 little kids over there and my 2 sons.
Wow,
Nice.
that's a great plan. Well, thanks
Yeah.
again. We appreciate it. Back with more Daily Wrap on this Thursday evening in just a moment. And welcome back to Daily Wrap. Well, some of the GOP's more outspoken presidential candidates have been voicing their disappointment with the Supreme Court's ruling last week that legalized same-sex marriage. Texas Senator Ted Cruz called the rulings, quote, some of the darkest 24 hours in our nation's history. Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal says the Supreme Court's decision will, and we quote, pave the way for an all-out assault against the religious freedoms of Christians. Marriage between a man and a woman was established by God, and no earthly court can alter that. And former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee agrees with Governor Jindal, calling the ruling unconstitutional and saying that, and we quote, the Supreme Court has spoken with a very divided voice on something only the Supreme Being can do, redefine marriage. We must resist and reject judicial tyranny, he said that a lot, not retreat. That's from Huckabee. But are their views in line with Republican voters? A new poll conducted by the American Unity Fund and Project Right Side finds that 57% of registered voters favor same-sex marriage. 39% of Republicans are also in favor of same-sex marriage, and 61% of Republican millennials, those between the ages of 18 and 34, support same-sex marriage. We know the GOP has had a hard time with the youth vote lately. Should the candidates be paying more attention to what millennials are saying, or is it, well, screw it, they don't go to the polls and we really have to worry about that, Rick?
You know what? I'm going to break out my time machine so I can take Ted Cruz on a little ride through American history.
1.21 gigawatts.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like him to visit some of the darkest hours of the American Revolution, which he apparently never heard of. I'd like him to be there for some of the most brutal, horrible battles in the American Civil War, which he apparently never heard of. I am sick and tired of him doing this and telling people what they want to hear and just completely misrepresenting everything. The man wants to be president of the United States. He doesn't deserve to have a seat in any post in our government. I truly believe that. As for Mike Huckabee, you know, what can I say? You know, if you want to go out there and preach insurrection against the United States Supreme Court, knock yourself out, man. You don't know the country you're living in. Even people who agree with your point of view in this nation will not take that attitude. They believe in the country that you don't. They do see the distinction between laws created by God and laws created by man, and why there's a difference. You guys are way on the wrong track, and that's why neither of these two men have any chance of getting anywhere near the White House.
Let me just speak to our executive producer, Chad Wilkinson. Chad, please, for the love of God, get Ted Cruz in here as a guest. I got to see Unger Cruz. It would be better than Sanders and Trump. I'm telling you. Be good stuff. Brad, we had a Guy Benson on a night where you weren't here. He's a 30-year-old Republican, obviously a millennial, and he's also gay. And he came out recently. And I asked him, can you be pro-gay marriage and still win the Republican nomination? And he said, absolutely. Do you believe that?
I hope so. Otherwise, the future of the Republican Party in this country is very much in doubt. And the elders of this party better appreciate that. This has nothing to do with violating conservative principles. This doesn't even have anything to do with violating the principle of opposition to gay marriage on religious grounds. This has to do, and when Rick's right, he's completely right, this has to do with wanting to lead the United States of America, not the divided or polarized states of America, no matter how convenient that is for some of these characters. What young Republicans understand is that religious freedom, including those who oppose gay marriage, has nothing to do with limiting the authentic rights of other Americans. They have figured this out. Their elders have not. It's why the majority of millennial evangelical Christians support gay marriage. I want to be clear. They do not support holy matrimony in a same-sex relationship. They support, because they love this country and they love our freedoms, the right of people to exercise that choice in their own lives. That's what religious freedom is about. These guys are so wrong about this, they're not even wrong.
Give me the short answer on this, because I honestly don't know.
Apparently neither of us can do short answers tonight,
yeah.
So you're proceeding.
Well, the emotion of this one is very
know,
serious, and I don't apologize for it.
No, I'm not saying your answer was
eloquent. I know.
I'm asking you a question.
I'm just feeling long-winded and apologizing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, so the question is, what is the Temple's official position on gay marriage? Not yours, the Temple's.
Well, there is no the temple, if you mean the Jewish community.
That's what I mean.
So
I don't know.
No, there are every view, like in the Christian community, in the Jewish community, and in the political community, from conservatives to progressives. Right. There's every view out there. Mm-hmm. What I know better animate all of them is the ability to take a principled position for your own life and not demand that everyone else take the same one in order to be part of our culture, our community, or our nation.
You know, my position is, Mary, because I go conservative on some views, but on this one, I'm apathetic.
Live and let live.
Like, I don't care. If two people are happy, go nuts. But I don't want to hear about it. Don't invite me to your wedding. And I mean that to heterosexuals and homosexuals, because that chicken dance and the Macarena.
Not for you, huh?
Right, they're all the same,
you don't know
man.
how to have fun.
No, well, I know repetition. Trust me, when you get to my age.
That's tradition and ritual, man.
You go through a phase when between like 30 and 40, you go to like 100 weddings.
They're fun.
Well, not anymore, man. They have Friday night weddings, which are exhausting, and Sunday afternoons, which are boring.
And now you got to travel places.
You're getting
old. You got to travel
careful.
places, thousands of dollars.
Thousands of miles,
There's my view. Anyway, we want to know your views, but first, let's go to Potluck. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. Well, before we jump back in, let's jump on board, shall we? Newsmax wants to send one lucky couple on a 7-day Silver Sea cruise to the Caribbean this winter. Obviously, a luxury cruise on the Silver Wind is a trip of a lifetime. To win, you need to enter our sweepstakes, however. Visit newsmax.com/sweepstakes to enter. That's newsmax.com/sweepstakes. Okay, it's time for Potluck. This is the part of the show we go around the table, share our favorite stories of the day. Favorite may not be the word I'm looking for here.
Right.
Disturbing may be more accurate.
Disturbing, predictive, interesting, maybe a little entertaining, but we'll get there. I bring you tonight Killer Robots.
Where'd you get that footage of my favorite cousin?
Well, it turns out the robots are now getting their revenge. That was from Terminator 1, obviously, and for millions and millions of people who've seen the show, this is a story in which life is now imitating art, because now it's not the robots that are being killed by the machine, the robots are killing people. Now, what happened? In a VW plant outside of Kassel, Germany, a 21-year-old technician was installing a new robot. The robot literally turned on him, and it did to him what it was designed to do. It picked him up and crushed him.
God,
it crushed him full on, and he is gone. Now, so it is a little bit that old fear of, you know, the machines will take over, and that's what's going to happen. And here you can see that these are the robots. That's not the robots that did the crushing,
right.
But look at those hands reaching in, and that is the stuff that is a little bit scary. In fact, the VW spokesperson came out and tried to explain by actually saying it wasn't one of those gentler next-generation robots that collaborate with people.
It was a union dispute, clearly.
Of course.
Clearly.
Scott Walker again.
Right.
Smart
Well, it
for breaking
goes
up
even
these
further and says, no, we usually keep the non-collaborative robots in cages.
Cages?
Cages. So the fear about all this stuff, the machines taking over, obviously there's something going on. Now that's the life imitating art part. There's
May I stop
piece.
you
Yeah,
because I need a little bit more background on this story. I purposely didn't read
my
about
best.
it because I wanted to be, I don't know, surprised. I wanted this to be organic as
It's
possible.
surprising.
Are these robots, the ones that are being built in Germany, being trained to be military, or was, in other words, when this 21-year-old, this poor guy was crushed and killed, are they being trained to be pick up, you know, big stuff to move them around warehouses?
They pick up large things, car parts, and they put them on the chassis.
And they thought that he was a car part.
And
It's
because
just malfunction.
Right. Well, the funny kind of malfunction because it's the way it's programmed, and the programming of the machines ultimately, even in science fiction, always goes back to people. The machines don't have morals. So part of this story is the decisions we make, and this is where it does get a little bit serious. Obviously, it was serious enough for the 21, 22-year-old kid who got killed. But it has implications for labor in America and in the world in general, because the efficiencies that machines create, which do benefit the economy, both in the near term and the long term, also cost real jobs. And how do we begin to balance that? Because it's not going to be done by saying, bring back the old days and have a bunch of unionists defending jobs that are ridiculous. That's stupid. And it's also not going to be done by people saying, well, people will simply figure it out by themselves and we'll just cast them to the side. Because that's not going to work either. We're going to need new thinking that actually appreciates the role of machines in our everyday lives is simply going to increase. We're not going backwards on this one.
Seems like we're at a bad crossroads, Rick.
Yeah, that's just well, I don't know that it's a bad crossroads, but we are at a crossroads. And what amazes me is that we have been talking about this crossroads for over a generation. Who hasn't talked about the day coming where technology would replace the need for human labor? Well, we're here. We said it was coming. I think nobody really believed it, like it was science fiction. Now we're here and nobody wants to acknowledge it. We look at the job numbers that came out. They were pretty good.
Sure.
We get a decent unemployment number. Of course, we talk about how, as we always do, well, a lot of those people stop looking for work.
Wages are flat.
Yeah, but what we don't talk about is what I think is the real issue we're now facing. You can blame it on the economy if you want to. You can blame it on the president or whoever it is you like to whip. The fact of the matter is we have entered the era where technology can now do jobs that people used to do. Now, when you add to that the fact that we are at the same point extending life thanks to great medical discovery and medical technology, we've got one heck of a thing brewing there, because we're going to have people in this country living much longer without jobs. What's the answer to this? The first place you start is education.
Yes.
So people are educated for that economy, and are we doing that properly? No.
more technicians, right? More people to create the technology to create the things that will replace
part
people.
of it. We also have to be
Design,
smart.
all sorts of stuff.
Not everyone will be able to do those jobs. We need to rethink what labor means, because if we can imagine it, it is going to happen. We've got to get ahead of that curve now.
Wow, what a happy way to start your holiday weekend, everybody. Up next, yay or nay, this is the Daily Wrap. It's super happy time, people. It's time for yay or nay on the evening before a holiday weekend. Let's get right to it. First up, the GOP isn't having much trouble finding people to join the race for the White House. Now, with a total of 14 candidates, the Democrats, on the other hand, are practically begging possible candidates like Vice President Joe Biden to join their significantly smaller group of just recently 5 hopefuls. Case in point, the Draft Biden 2016 Super PAC has already gathered more than 90,000 signatures in their efforts to compel the VP to enter the race. Friends and advisors say the 72-year-old, that's right, 72, received encouragement to run from his family, including his late son, Beau Biden, who passed away last month after a long battle with, of course, brain cancer. If he's up for it, should Biden join the race, yay or nay? Unga.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Listen, I have always been a very big Joe Biden fan. He's made fun of because he does sometimes say more than he should, but you know,
or the wrong thing.
They're called gaffes, but a gaffe defined in Washington is the truth.
I think
out of the mouth of a politician.
Rick is exactly right. Gaffes make him genuine.
Yeah,
make him
I think
human.
that's the appeal.
And
here.
there's nothing malicious about them.
No, he has a nice attitude. It's like it's the roughness and freshness of a Trump, but with the gentleness and sincerity that none of these characters have. You can agree with him or disagree with him, but it's also worth remembering this was the first politician in Washington who talked openly about the need to break up Iraq because it wasn't a real state.
That's right.
And history is, I think, can actually
And
prove
look
him
how
right.
he rocked those sunglasses we just saw.
If Bernie Sanders can actually threaten Hillary Clinton by going within single digits, what would an actual candidate who isn't a socialist
Who's a real candidate look like?
Right.
Anything that overwhelms the inevitability of Hillary, that's probably a good thing.
Yep, that's true. Okay, next up in our yay and nay segment, now that same-sex marriage is legal across the country, there's one attorney who's looking out for couples who might not live happily ever after. Get this, J. Connor Cochran is dedicating an entire division of his law firm to the nation's first firm to handle LGBTQ divorces. In other words, gay divorces, basically. He's saying, look, this is what we do for you. It's like Match.com and the J-Date. Everything is now categorized. Incredible. Should law firms specialize based on sexual orientation?
I mean, it's probably good business. No divorce is actually like any other, and they do have certain commonalities. So if you can build sensitivity towards same-sex couples that will help them end their marriages at least as well as they got into them, that's a good thing.
Completely unnecessary. Divorce attorneys currently in the business will be more than capable of handling same-sex divorces. There's not going to be much in the way of differences. Nice try. Good idea, good publicity, but no, the divorce lawyers will be perfectly
This is
prepared.
as good as a sports bar I keep telling you that you and I should open up. This is a tremendous business decision because you Google gay divorce lawyer and that's the only one that comes up.
Except they're not going to Google gay divorce lawyer. They're going to Google divorce lawyer.
Maybe.
And they're going to go to the yellow pages in the town where they live.
Yellow
Some
pages?
people will.
Who uses the yellow pages?
Well, whatever they do.
Okay. Anyway, Fargo, North Dakota resident. His name is Douglas Legler. Was a funny man of few words, and when he passed away at 85 years old, his obituary simply said, Doug died. Apparently, he wants his obituary to say that. He's always wanted it that way. Have any of you already planned your obit? Rick, you're, on the back nine.
I don't need one.
That's right, you're going to live forever.
I'm not going anywhere, so not necessary.
Wow,
Sorry.
he's immortal. I sensed it, now I know it.
Listen, now
Brad.
I know it for a fact. No, I don't plan that kind of stuff. I've helped other people plan theirs, but I don't think I'm immortal. That's not why. But I'd rather focus on here and now than then and there.
Okay. Yeah. There's a great Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David has to write the obituary, and he accidentally says, instead of beloved aunt of his aunt, he gets one letter wrong in that. You can figure it out at home. Anyway, finally tonight, with the 4th of July right around the corner, it's only fitting to talk about the fireworks industry. With sales expected to top, get this, $1 billion this year, you'd think the industry would be quite happy. But the American Pyrotechnics Association says they have one major problem, that's the president. Well, the Obama administration anyway, and specifically Consumer Product Safety Commission, which wants to increase regulations on the fireworks industry. 11 people died last year from fireworks, 10,000 injuries. Should there be more regulation quickly?
Not more regulation, more caution with kids using them.
Agreed.
Not an expert, but it probably needs more.
Absolutely. My wife works in the ER, trust me, that's all she sees on 4th of July weekend. Anyway, thank you, panel, appreciate it. Newsmax Prime, J.D. Hayward, that's next.